This is Dr. Rao. Good evening to everybody. So, we started a topic yesterday as to see if you take a panoramic look at our life or just to stop our daily grind and take a look at and say, what is going on here? Am I really doing anything for the world or for the other people, or I'm just uh, living my life and enjoying my life and doing. There's nothing wrong with it, just living for yourself. But it's more meaningful for many once they begin to look beyond themselves and something bigger than themselves, and they're working for it. You know, that is the uh, usual way that we found out with several cultures, that people who want to contribute to other people or other causes greater than themselves, they find much more meaning. You know, there was an experiment done by a college professor at one time. What he did was he was teaching the college going kids, and he was teaching lessons every day. But one day he kind of said, "Oh, let us take off for a afternoon and let's go to a movie together." So kids were very happy. Oh yeah, we don't have class today. Let's go to the movie. And he takes them to the movie, and they see the movie. They enjoy it, and then they come back. And then he wants them to really understand what's going on, with that movie. And they kind of write down something, and that's it. And a few weeks later, again, the professor says, uh, uh, professor says, let's take off again, or just go somewhere, and then we're going to go this time to an orphanage. So, and he says that, and then he comes in with the plan of going there for one afternoon, and they take some goodies because they're going to the orphans, right? So the little kids, so they go and give them some sweets and some uh, uh, cookies and some crows, and then they feed them and they take care of them for the day. And then they come back, and then they ask them to write down what their experience was. And 6 months down the line, they again bring up these two episodes. One episode when they went and enjoyed themselves with a film, and the other episode is when they went to an orphanage and took care of the kids. That means they gave themselves up to the kids' service, right? And to it, every student who had gone through both experiences, they vouched for the second one. Going and taking care of the orphans was much more meaningful for them, much more memorable for them, and they enjoyed that more. So that's what we're talking about. And you don't have to sacrifice your family or anything, but if you open your heart, you can do a lot of things for a lot of people on a daily basis. Okay. So that's what I was pondering over yesterday. And yesterday we talked about global heat. What is our response to when we see that our daily actions are contributing to the um, global heat, and then we're suffering the consequences with difficult storms and fires and earthquakes and all that, right? um, by the way, this was pointed out by the scientific community in 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, so on and so on. Okay, so this is not new. The consequences are going to be this severe. But then they kind of predicted maybe a little later, but this is happening much more because nobody paid attention to this kind of destruction we are doing with our human activity, and we don't even want to accept it. Even now, some people are there who do not want to accept that the global heat is real, and the consequences in the weather patterns is because of the global heat, and the global heat is by the human consumption, mainly the fusel oils, the methane, and all that. So you kind of blind to it. You allow these bad things to happen at a rapid rate, and then people are suffering because of that. Okay, so that's what I was pointing out yesterday. So living our life, just minding our business, minding our pleasures, and uh, whatever comes our way, it's not a crime, but that is not enough, because as human beings with the intelligence that we have, we could really help to save the planet and also make it much more habitable by understanding our daily actions and change. That's what we were talking about yesterday. But in so many ways people can contribute, right? So even the small to big ways people can contribute to the welfare of something greater than you, something like your family or your country or your world or your earth, any of the levels, right? But then the small actions that we do may not bring the results in the terms of rewarding our personal self. That's where the problem is again. If you do based on your ego and wanting something for that in return, that's the problem, right? But if you do, like you have the collective responsibility for our atmosphere, our way of living, then you would be doing some things, not anybody asking you, but because you feel that this is my responsibility. That's why this is a famous saying in one of the spiritual books. It was written thousands of years ago, and this was asking the reader at the time, asking this question: are you contributing to the life in general? Okay, or are you just getting so much out of the Earth's resources, or anything that happens, and you don't really bother about what is happening around you? Okay, in that sense, they said animals, they just do instinctively and then they die, right? Whereas human beings kind of try to tame the nature, and in the process they're contributing a lot of damage to the nature. If they follow natural rhythms, if they follow what the nature is doing by itself, and then really appreciate it and kind of complement it, kind of promote it, nature can cure itself. But then we are kind of building technology, building chemicals and all that. uh, that is accelerating the damage where otherwise capable of do. A single man may not do much, but a machine can do much more for him. That's why we can't really say gaga about the technology and say the technology is everything, technology will improve our lives. But if you actually see it, technology has caused a lot of damage to the earth. You can turn it around. You can turn it around, the technology, and make it much more. Like, for example, communications. You can communicate around the world this concern that we have about the climate, and then ask people to um, bring in and then participate in to saving the world, right? That's a good thing. But if you just use the technology for your own self-centered activities of pleasure, that's what is happening. And we are not really using the technology for the ills that we have generated. Okay, so that's how I look at it. I use the technology for communications. Very good. I use the technology to produce things for that will be helpful for a lot of people who don't have anything. That's very good thing. But then, if you look at it, all the resources are going to accumulate wealth and spend that wealth for pleasures. Generally, that is what is going on, and that's not going to help the world, who it is unequal, and then it has so many pockets of poverty and so many pockets of real problems with the weather, and they cannot do anything because they don't have the money. All those things are there. So think on those lines, and then you'll have a different perspective about staying in the United States, staying in our own comfort zone, and using the technology just to amplify our pleasures. And then you get bored, then you get into all sorts of addictions, all that, right? I'm talking about in general. In general, that's what is going on, not like only United States. There are a lot of countries do the same thing now, right? But then they're much more concerned now because of the damage we are looking at the earth, and they're trying to rectify that. Now, AI broke through, and we don't know what's going to happen. And probably it will be out of our control, probably, once you have the AGI. Okay. And then all this singularity that is going to be there, and the machines are going to dictate us through algorithms. That's already happening in so many ways. Then we lose that human touch. Before that happens, ask yourself, am I contributing to life? Maybe you are. Maybe you are doing a very good job of it. Who knows? But all I'm saying is just to stop and reflect on that question, and then look at your lifestyle. Does this match with what you consider as noble or something altruistic, something that you have to do because you want to save the world, something like that. So this question is very fundamental. This is not a new question. It was put in there by centuries ago, so that human beings will be asking themselves, and they'll be responsible for their life and other people's life. And also, because they can dominate the animals and plants, they can also act as saviors of the plants and also the animals. So there are so many people who are trying to do that. But then the people who destroy the earth are like a 10 or 20 people, whereas people who want to save the earth, maybe two or three. That's why the mismatch, that's why there's so much problem is happening, right? Um, I wonder what you guys think. If you have any comments, you can come up, and you can talk to us about what it is, okay? So this is a question. Actually, I found that in introduction of Bhagavad Gita, not even in Bhagavad Gita, but in introduction, this is done. Then they take into that account into real context with the war going on. This warrior who has relatives on both sides of the people who are fighting, he gets panicky. He doesn't want to kill his own brothers, his own people, so he gets panicky. Then the charioteer kind of gets into him and tells him what is what. And one of the things he says is, you got to do your duty no matter what. But then when you're doing the duty, know that you are the one who is doing it at the behest of the divine. That means you are a tool, not really the one who is doing it. So you have to do the duty for the sake of duty. And then this question asks not only for the sake of your own duty, but what is your response to the rest of the world, rest of the people? There's a fundamental question. Individual human being, rest of the human beings, and the earth, and also what is the relationship with supernatural powers, or powers that are beyond you, that make the world go around. We call them God, or we call consciousness, whatever you call them. So what is your relationship with these three: individual, society, and God? What kind of relationship you have? So if you consider the ancient Indians, when they wrote the Bhagavad, they considered the God is everything, and in him we kind of took shape, and we're going to observe in him. So that God itself is the awareness which is there in everybody. That's why our own awareness is our God. That's the kind of conclusion they had. But then that awareness gives us this intelligence with which we kind of protect the earth, protect other people, and protect ourselves. Work for it, and also produce and enjoy, and all those things will be there. So this question, as they put it, is a very, very deep and fundamental. It is going to the human development. Is the human development oriented towards only some technological excellence and then use them for our pleasure? Or is the technology used by people who are completely evolved in themselves. So they are so content with themselves, and they find that sweet spot of what's called Sat Chit Anand. That means existence, consciousness, and bliss. They found the blissful divine power and abundance within themselves, so they don't have to go out and get a lot of things for their pleasure. So they can that part of his evolution happened in ancient times. Unfortunately, we kind of looked outward development, not for the inward evolution that was done in ancient times. The thing was, just because our genes evolved into a good body, this kind of understanding, this kind of knowledge doesn't come to you, transmitted to you. You got to explore that. You got to question and you got to explore that and then get that intelligence within you awakened, right? Then you can do the right thing. So that's why spirituality is such a big part in human life, because humans may not be happy with the political system, religious system, psychiatric system, and all that, but they come to the philosophical, inward looking system where they will find out their true nature is beyond this body and mind, and they can act with that intelligence, not only to help themselves, but also they will help other people in the world. So it is called Atma Moksha Ardham, that is fulfillment of yourself, finding out your true self and then radiating in that, and then go and help the world. Jagat Hitaya Cha. Then you work for the Hita, that means welfare of the world. Okay. So this is a fundamental deep question where people had problems of making living. People have problems of feeding the family. People have problems of surviving in the competition in all the evil world. But then there were certain people once in a while that had looked inside, that has sat down and then sacrificed the external life, lived very simply, but they turned their eye inward. And in that quietness, when the mind is completely quiet, they discovered profound things about our life. That is what ancient wisdom I think we should look into. And then we should study, we should think about it, make our own conclusions, don't believe anybody, and then see whether that wisdom can help you, first of all, makes you very peaceful because you don't have any moment of mind, and makes you very fulfilling because you are satisfied with the abundance you have got. And basically, you will be peaceful because you don't have this agitated mind. So, those kind of people, that kind of awareness, that kind of abundance we have in our reach, you know. So people have to do that, and come to the conclusion that I can be intelligent, I can be looking at things in a different perspective, not in a divisive way, but in a inclusive way, right? And when you do that, then you'll be able to not only contribute to yourself and family, but also your planet, your society, and all that. And as I said in initial story, instead of going to a movie, if you go to help somebody and do it with heart, then you have much more satisfaction rather than just living for yourself. Okay. So this is a series, as I promised. So um, I'm kind of going slow, mainly because I want people to get the hang of this topic. And if they can participate, they can participate. Otherwise, they can send us the questions in the chat box. We can also do that too. So many people here are not interested in all these things that are not really making money for them. But that is their thing. But they may come to the conclusion later on when they have enough money and they don't know what else to do, then they may come. But what we need is, we need this kind of intelligence awakened now so that we can save the planet. There's so many problems going on there because you are not intelligent in those things, right? So if you talk to real serious thinkers, real serious thought leaders, they will be thinking about these profound issues, these broad issues, these fundamental issues. Okay, so why we are spoiling the earth? Why we are giving so much grief is because we are ignorant. We don't know what's the value of the earth, and we have been doing that for some years now. Very soon we may even not have any earth to worry about. That's a injustice to the next generations, our children, our daughters, and all. So that's why we need to do our bit, get this education, understanding, awareness spread, let people also help us to really, stop the damage to the earth and nurture it if we can nurture it. Okay, that kind of thing. Okay, so I think it's almost half an hour since I started this. So I would welcome people to send me any messages regarding this, and I'll be back again talking about this topic with you all. Uh, Hopefully, I'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, bye bye.